Lockdown seems to be nearly over, and I haven't wasted my time, but I've wasted all the opportunities I could have done to put up YouTube videos about how I'm keeping sane, and that's going to I've done a lot of walking along the Wansdyke, which is south and east of Bristol. It's an ancient ditch and dike, defensive dike, sub-Roman period or early Anglo-Saxon, and that's how I kept myself sane. Going for walks, I've reconnected with my feelings for the countryside, and being forced to do activities that have nothing to do with that don't involve meeting up with other people indoors. So that's why so even though lockdown's ending and I've squandered, I could have done like 3 videos. Took a lot of footage, never put it together, but I'm still I'm still not convinced without a vaccine. I think we should avoid congregating, so I'm still going to continue going for walks. I'm in Membury, which you might have heard of because you've gone flying past it on the M4, and it is a very beautiful area of the country which you can't really see from the motorway. You get glimpses of it, but I'm literally less than a mile from the motorway now, and it is, England at its most beautiful, even though we've driven great big roads through it, electrical pylons, that our agriculture is petrochemical based. It's still beautiful. But dotted all around the English countryside, everywhere is ancient monuments, and it seems to be decreasing with modern agriculture. But there's I've come to Membury because there's a Roman road that goes through it, the Ermine Way. There's an Iron Age hill fort, a Bronze Age barrow, and a Neolithic long barrow. So that's four items of archaeological interest, and if I can work out how to get up this hill, I'll do some videoing of it. It's certainly when you're really free, like the whole of the the whole world is your oyster, and you forget about the things that are on your doorstep. But when you're restricted in your activities, you go back to what the core things that matter. And for me, I'm probably not alone, the English countryside and our ancient history really matters. Well, that's either Holloway, where so much use has been made of this road that it's cut its way through the hillside, or that's a deliberate part of the hill fort. You do find approaches to hill forts have these great big earthworks, but that's quite interesting. I'm not convinced this is anything to do with a natural erosion of the soil. It's got this is clearly designed. This is a very old roadway, and they put a lot of effort into digging this out, making it flat for people approaching this hill fort, this Iron Age hill fort. It's an Iron Age hill fort. Most of them were built between 400 and I think 100 BC. But the research, it depends who you read. The Iron Age itself, 800 to 43, 800 BC to 43 AD, and when the Romans invade. But of course, there is a continuity between the Bronze Age and the Iron Age. In many ways, there are cultural differences, but there does seem to be a cultural continuity between the people who were here when iron arrives, and the people after iron arrives, which is where we know there is a big difference. With the arrival of the Bronze Age people, and you could argue with the arrival of the Anglo-Saxons, because British place names disappear, British culture disappears. But anyway, so it could very well be that there is. Sometimes you find in Iron Age hill forts, you'll find Bronze Age burials and things like that. So either the places were used continuously, or there's a continuity of culture in some way. Of course, we change over thousands of years. But even though, say, 300 years ago, the English were wearing tricorn hats, I think if we were thrown back in a time machine, I think we'd understand each other. I think the language and the culture wouldn't have been all that massively different. So so it's actually quite a nice. That's quite a nice walk. It's I'd say about 8 acres, something like that. There's still a lot of argument about what these places are for. I don't underplay the defensive capability of having ditches and massive banks with palisades at the top. More bloody planes. There is a light aircraft airport here as well. So anyway, that's Membry Iron Age Fort. That's a Bronze Age round barrow, and I'm surprised to say. I've been to quite a few sites that are much more interesting in my mind or in my expectation than they are in reality. But that is an interesting lump on the horizon, on the top of that hill. Now, Bronze Age is something like 2400 BC to about 800 BC, and there's lots to say about it. It was a new culture with new burial practices. It tends to be a lone individual, a chieftain of some sort, who's buried individually in one round barrow, one round mound, as opposed to the Neolithic, which we're going to go and have a look at Neolithic one in a minute, which is much more family based. Other people did bury, for example, the Anglo-Saxons later on did bury their own. They recognised the importance of these mounds in the landscape. buried their own around them, but they're originally for individuals of high status. Sometimes gold is found in them, bronze, stone implements, some very famous burials like the Amesbury archer, high status individual. He's got gold, he's got a stone wrist guard, all of the, a bronze dagger. But sometimes it's just a little bit of charcoal and a bone or something like that. It depends, I guess, how rich the individual was, but the individual was always important. That was one of the more interesting sites I've been to. Very interesting. There's a very characterful place thing on the. It has a very characterful relationship with the landscape. I enjoyed looking at that. And it means I'm pleased by my choice. I literally looked at the map. Where should I go? Look for several monuments in a small area and have a chat to the camera. But sometimes you're disappointed because you get to these places to find everything's been ploughed out, covered in barbed wire or whatever, or just not that interesting to look at. But it's 2 out of 3. The Hill Fort and the Bronze Age Barrow. Off to the Long Barrow now, and let's see if we can make a hat trick. Could explain why the farmer is not too bothered by this entire field of thorns. Could be he's happy getting a honey crop for all the flowers. I mean, the butterflies are certainly enjoying it. I'm not sure that I've made the hat trick. I think it's been mostly ploughed out. Might be that hump there. Let's go and have a look. Well, 2 out of 3 is not bad. I'll give the Neolithic speech anyway. The Neolithic comes after the Mesolithic. New ideas come from the continent of keeping animals and growing grain. Though there have been, they're pretty sure that before farming, people were drinking milk product or having milk products. So it wasn't completely that clear cut. People were exploiting nature in other ways than just hunting. But it was the Neolithic is when hunting comes in from the farming comes in from the continent, and that creates a boom because it's not hand to mouth. You can plan for the future. You can organise situations where you can set up monuments. Like this once was, spend the time on it, things, culture expands at this point. Long barrows are communal affairs. Now, it's not the whole community. It's not a call to point out how our ancestors were communists. What it's saying is that there were more important people in society than just their head men. So, or the chieftain or the king. There were other people that were important as well. So it was like, so you'd have 20 bodies in a Neolithic tomb, whereas in the next stage, the Bronze Age, the Beaker folk, there's one person, or maybe two, but it's about status of individuals. Individuality comes to the fore in the Bronze Age. So and they're often elaborate stone affairs, long earthen mounds with stone structures, entranceways, false entranceways.